Hi everyone, welcome to your weekly edition of Show Me How It's Done. My name is Laura Nerbonis and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Now it is currently January 2025, which means there is a whole plethora of fun things for you to be playing with right now. You are probably digging your hands into the new January to April mini catalog. Hopefully you've checked out online. My website's at the bottom if you need it, because there are new kits, there are new online exclusives, and the start of Bration has begun. So to briefly go over what a couple of those things are, Bration is Stampin' Up's time during every year where they give you extra free product for your purchase. So in Canada, when you spend $75 before shipping and tax, there is a selection of stamps, papers, there's even embellishments, ribbon, an embossing folder that you can choose for free with your purchase. If you spend $150, you can either choose two of those smaller items, or there is also a bundle with stamps and dies or an oversized stamp set. So completely up to you, but it is a great time to shop from now until February 28th. If you are in Canada and don't have a demonstrator, please reach out. I'd love to send you a catalog. And in the meantime, of course, you can look online because that's where all of the online exclusive products are. Speaking of online exclusives, this was one that was released prior to this new batch of goodies, but I hadn't had a chance to play with it because we were so busy with the Christmas season and I needed to come back to it. So this set is called Otterly Amazing. There is a beautiful stamp set that you can color with your blends, or they look really adorable if you stamp these onto like a crumb cake or pecan pie paper in white or copper embossing powder, and it just kind of sets the tone for these little critters. There is a coordinating die set, which we're not using too much of today. I did use the little rocks, and other than that, I did a lot of fussy cutting because I wanted to chop up one of the Otterly Adorable papers that Stampin' Up complemented this suite with. Now, hopefully I'm going to have time to come back to this on another one of our videos, but if I don't, I just want to highlight the fact that many of these images complement both the stamps in the set, as well as some of the otters that you can find in the designer series paper. So there's whole sheets with some otters that you'll need to fussy cut, but then lots of otters that would complement these pages as well. There's some standalone dies like the grass and the fish. And then of course you do have this funky looking die, which you're probably wondering, what on earth do I use that for? So if you were to put this down onto a piece of blue paper, or there's some watery like background papers on here, it will cut two slits in that paper right where these grooves are. So then you can tuck your little otter in behind and it makes it look like he's swimming in the water. So again, I do hope I have time to come back to this, but there are so many things to show you guys right now. So we'll have to see. We might be coming back to it. We might have to skip forward. So there's the stamp set. You can purchase this, of course, just the stamps, just the dies, but when you grab them together, there is a 10% discount. Your other parts of the suite are going to be this Otterly Adorable paper, which unfortunately I've used much of, but I'll just show you a few different sheets. Like this one, I haven't decided what I'm going to do with him yet. I feel like if I chopped it like this and like this, it could make really nice card fronts, but I can really only do that twice. And then on the back, there's some great pebbles that you can play with. Lots of the other sheets have, oh, that was part of that, have images that you can cut out. Like this guy would complement one of the dies, or you can simply use them as a background. There's lots and lots of water. This one is the balmy blue. There's also a sheet with kind of pool party water backgrounds, which are great. I feel like we often miss out on those, and I'm really happy to see that they're here. So I'm not going to go through everything, but when you get to a page like this, you have the option of either cutting out the scenes Or like I did, I fussy cut some of these otters out, and that's what I'm going to use on today's card. This was not actually the sheet I used. The one I had, the otters were slightly bigger, and on the back there was kind of a grayish image that I'm using for my rocks. But I wanted to highlight a couple of my favorite pages. I'm going to put that on the ground. And then the other parts of the suite that we haven't played with yet are the Lost Lagoon soft cording. And then there are some gems here as well. These are some Riverside pearls. And there are the whites up at the top, the grayish, and then the blues right in here. So really, really fun suite if you're looking for something cute. You could use it for Valentine's if you're looking for something, you know, to say you're utterly adorable. But of course, it doesn't have to be Valentine's. It could quite simply be something you use to just brighten someone's day or to cheer them up. I find the otters are very gender neutral, so of course you can use them for both a male and a female card. They're great for kids if you want, so it's a nice set. So today we're making a mini card. This is not a full-size card, but I wanted to use these little otters to their full advantage. Here's 3 designs so far, but of course there will be much more depending on which otter you cut out from your package. So here's a couple that I'm going to start with, and it's very bright again all of a sudden. Okay, this card is a mini card, and it opens like this. So you can set it on your desk. It kind of looks like a Z from the top, but it will look like a panorama from the front. That's very hard for you to be able to see, but let me show you how to make this card today. So I'm going to move this one out of the way, but that was just another idea using basically the same materials, but just a different set of the otters. I'm going to use this little guy. So the trickiest part of this card is the base, and then after that, everything else should be smooth sailing. So you're going to cut, if you would like to follow along with me, a piece of cardstock that is 3 inches by 11. Then we need to do some cutting and some scoring on this piece. So if you have the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, you'll be able to do both of those things at once. And I apologize, I have to move him for a second. If you do not, don't stress, but you'll have to grab your trimmer and then you'll have to grab your scoreboard and kind of go back and forth a little bit. So just a reminder, we've cut this at 3 to 11. Now we need to put some score marks in here so that we know where to fold this. So make sure your cutting blade is out of the way. We don't want to use that. Oh, and go to the bottom. We're going to make 2 score lines here. Need that little arm out. The first one is going to be at 7 inches. Again, scoring right now, so we're using this light gray blade. And then we're going to move it over to 3.5. There. So 2 score lines, one at 3.5 and one at 7. And then we need to do a cut line. So I'm going to just show you this one for a sec. This is one that I've already done. So these are the 2 scored lines that we did. We need to slice these 2 pieces in half because on the card, I'm actually only keeping this bottom section of the fold, getting rid of the top half. And that's what gives that like fun Z fold look. So visualize this in your head. We're working in this smaller section, that 3.5 inch section. Okay, so that should currently be the one that's on the left. We're not cutting this big section. That's the one in the back. Okay, we want the Z to be the largest in the back. So you're going to turn this and line it up to 1 1/4, right here, 1 1/4. And now we're not scoring, we are cutting, but we're cutting down, down, down to this 3.5 inch score line, okay? So from the top down, cutting, 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 all the way down to 3.5. If you've got the trimmer, it'll even tell you. If not, just line it up with the score line that you have. all the way down to 3.5. Okay, so these two should be separated at the moment. Now this large piece, we're going to cut away. So again, I'm going to use my trimmer. If you feel more comfortable, you can grab scissors, but I'm going to cut from the top of this score line down to where that cut line meets, because I want to get rid of this entire large section. You want to keep the smaller one. Okay, so lining it up on the 3.5-inch score line. We're just cutting down, 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 down. You need to be able to see. And those two should separate. Okay, so this, let me put this on the desk for you. Should be what it kind of looks like at the moment. You should have this removed piece, a smaller little section, a medium section, and a large section. So that when you make your card, this is what we've got. Like that. It's not wanting to focus, is it? There you go. So we need to do a little bit of folding as well as adding some details to the card. So I'm going to move this down. We're going to take this back piece and fold it forward, just making a Z. Okay, so that one got folded forward, which means the small piece here gets put backwards. That will make you this look right there. Now we're ready to start decorating. This piece up here, you can save for your scraps. It's large enough for you to be able to make a tag out of it, but you're certainly not going to need it on this project here. Okay, so I'm going to start with the inside of my card. I like to start with something to write on. So I have a piece of white hiding in there. I have put all the measurements for these pieces in the description, so if you miss one as I'm going through this, just hit pause. You can always go back and cut those out and join us again. But this piece is going to be 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. If you want to do any stamping on it, you will do that first, because of course once you get this on the card, if you make a mistake, it's not so easy just to flip over and try again. So you have a couple options. You can use the adorable little grass, and I stamped that with Pretty Peacock. I'm going to do something different on this one. I thought it would be fun to use the little fish. So I'm going to use Pumpkin Pie, because that's the color. I think they might be Calypso Coral kind of in the card, but I really like Pumpkin Pie with these little guys. So I'm going to add some fishies to the corner of my card. Either way, I'm just adding a tiny detail to decorate and make my little writing area a little bit more special. When I'm happy, I'm going to put this into the card with some sort of flat adhesive, if I can find one. Where did all my tape go? There it is. There we go. Tape, tape, tape. You're welcome to use seal or glue, of course. I just prefer my tape, and then my take your pick tool to get those pieces off. Whoa! I had a stapler. There it is. Open up and spring out at me. So this card is really small, but that makes it perfect to add to a little gift. You don't have to write a novel for the person you're giving it to. You just need something short and sweet, like thank you for doing this, or you're amazing. Now on the front here, we're going to flip this closed. I'm going to open this panel for just a second because we need to put some designer paper in there. Now there are so many patterns of designer paper you could have chosen. For this one, I chose the little fish. For the one I'm going to show you, I decided to go with the grasses. So either way, they're going to look great. You could choose any other patterns too. You could put little otters back there, but I wanted kind of the water river scene right now. So this piece of designer paper is going to be, let me just get this correct because it's directional. So it's going to be 3 1/4 across the top and 2 3/4 on the side. Okay, so when you're lining this up, because this is a directional piece, you're going to cut this section 3 1/4 inches wide, and then you're going to chop this 2 3/4 inch deep. You can add that with a flat adhesive. We don't want any dimensionals on that part because you do want this to be able to close. You can use dimensionals on your sentiment later. And we're going to put that right on here. Now, typically I would add my sentiment here, but because all of the otters are so different, what I'm suggesting is we're going to add little designer series paper to this part, and then I want you to start playing. I want you to pick the otter that you're cutting out from the paper and just lay out your pieces. Decide where you want everything to go, and then from there you'll be able to start attaching them. If you have something like a clear block, it might be handy just to rest that on your project so everything kind of stays closed at the moment. But you need one more piece of designer paper, and that's where I went and grabbed some of those water scenes. So for this one, it's going to be 1 inch by 3 1/4, and I used the Pool Party shade. On this one up here, I used the Balmy Blue because I thought it meshed well with the fish background. So either way, going to look lovely. And then I'm making the most of my papers as well at the same time. There we go. All right. Now, I ended up fussy cutting out the same set of otters as the card above, so I can lay it out very similarly. But let's say I cut out these guys. You can tell I had to put my rocks in different areas, and I had to really make sure that the otters weren't covering any of the letters. Here's a third option. This is the one with the mama otter and the baby otter. So again, I could bring my sentiment down a little bit more and tuck it in the back. But either way, you need to play around with your pieces. So you're going to need to get yourself one set of otters to play with. I cut out 3 of the rocks. The paper that had all the otters on the back of it is this nice gray tone. So I just used the rock dies and cut out a medium, small, and a large rock. And then this little tag here is from the, I want to say, Nested Essentials dies, and I just cut that with basic white for my sentiment. Might as well stamp it while it's here, so I grabbed Lost Lagoon ink so I don't get inky. Lost Lagoon ink, and I mounted the set that said "You're Otterly Amazing," and it kind of just fits in there. Okay, now I can copy this exactly because I know where everything's going, so I'm going to lay that down. On the back of my sentiment, I'm going to use dimensionals to pop that up and give it a little bit of life. Using the edges of my dimensionals, because I've used all the ones in the middle, but don't forget to use these pieces too. They work wonderfully. gonna go up in the top here. Next, I'm going to add my little otters. Because I want this piece to pop out, I'm going to make sure not to put dimensionals all over the back of the otters. Otherwise, it would close this, and all I would be able to do is open like so, which is cute and adorable, but then you wasted a bunch of work ahead of time, which is probably a little frustrating. So let's not do that. Let's just be smart and put dimensionals along the bottom where their tails are. So just right here. And that will be enough to hold the otters onto your card. Okay. Make sure you're not covering most of your words. You can cover a little something, but now we have our rocks. I'm going to put a dimensional right on the blue water because then I know my rock isn't going to be lopsided. It's going to be right where I want it, which is kind of the same level as the otters. I'm using the largest rock, and I can even hang some of it off the edge. And then when you get over here, we're going to put dimensionals for the medium rock and a little dimensional for the small rock. But do those one at a time, just in case you need to move something. It's easier to move one rather than two. Okay, so medium rock here. And then we can add the small rock just down below there. If you prefer to have the rocks glued, like right by your otters, that's totally fine as well. You just add a little bit of Tombow glue, a dot of it, and they can cluster around those otters. There we go. Now, one last finishing touch is going to be some gems. So I could have used these Riverside pearls, but they come only in 2 sizes, and I really wanted 3 sizes. So what I grabbed is these antique pearls, which are also brand new. They're from the mini catalog, and there's 1, 2, 3 sizes of those. So I figured you can use either of the pearls. They'll both look lovely. And we're going to just add a little bit of shine to the card here. So your pearls will move depending on which otter set you're using. You can use your take your pick tool to just kind of place them wherever you'd like. 1, 2. And I thought one on the tag looked really nice. 3. There we go. Okay, so there's one design. There's 2 designs. And there's 3 designs. But of course, like I mentioned, there's going to be more otters in there, and your design's going to look great. I know there was one otter set that they're kind of like really large and swimming, and so you can even just tuck them in behind the water and put the rocks in the front so it looks like they're out and splashing about. Completely up to you how you do this card. And to be quite honest, if you don't have the otters yet and you're not grabbing them, you can also try this with something else. Maybe you have some different paper and a different little scene that you'd like to build. But I hope you like the fold. I hope you like the fun little intent of it. And I look forward to seeing you again next week on another edition of Show Me How It's Done. Please consider clicking that like and subscribe button. I do really appreciate your support. And if you make a comment too, that is amazing, and I would love to get back to you. You can tell me which otter card you like. Number 1, number 2, or number 3, or let me know if you're going to play with something else. See you guys later. Bye.